Namaste to all the participants of this very important program. I feel truly honored to be a part of this program, part of this community, for a very few important reasons. Aviation and aerospace represents the highest technological aspirations of any country. This sector offers some of the most important technological barriers that a nation has to cross in its journey towards achieving technological superiority. And all of you are important stakeholders, soldiers, driving this very important cause. And it's a great privilege for me to be amongst all of you. This sector is also important because the maturity of this industry often ends up telling scientific standing of a given country. All advanced nations in the world have often a highly advanced aerospace industry. Inversely, the nations became technologically advanced because of the strides they took in aerospace and aviation. From building launch vehicles like the PSLV to fighter aircrafts like LCA Tejas. This community has contributed to enhancing global scientific standing of our country. And for that reason, again, I thank all of you and I deem it a great privilege to be amongst all of you. Friends, in addition to these two important national features, features of national importance, the strides that we make in the aviation and aerospace industry also always results in many important spill-offs, which always contribute to the general welfare of the country and society. People often quote the example of GPS, of how it is such an integral part of our lives today, and essentially how this technological feature was made primarily for the aviation industry and was a positive spin-off. But I would also like to recall that during the second COVID wave, when the whole nation was facing the great challenge of the sudden increase in demand for medical oxygen, it was Tejas aircraft's on-board oxygen generating system, the OBOGS system, that was repurposed to serve as oxygen generating plants in hospitals. In this manner, the aviation industry and this sector holds great potential to contribute to various aspects of human welfare and nation building. Therefore, the importance of the government as well as various stakeholders in nurturing and grooming young talents in this specific sector. We are today here to discuss and brainstorm on how this industry can stay true to its potential and generate very many high-skilled jobs and contribute greatly to the country's economy as our nation approaches the 75th year of independence. How to anticipate new age skills is the topic of discussion, is what I have been told. The net value of any given business today is all the money that it can earn tomorrow. That's how valuations are done in the startup industry. In the same way, net value of any skill today is the opportunities that it will generate and offer and keep you relevant in the future, near and distant. In this context, skill councils focus on new age skills, especially in a sector as important as aviation and aerospace, is of extreme importance and is being deliberated at an opportune moment. Broadly speaking, I believe there are two directions in which we can orient our approach. One is relating to emerging skills, the emerging trends in the sector, and the second is relating to the skills relating to the emerging opportunities in the sector. Since the goal of skill development is to ultimately find a purposeful job which can add great value to the organization where we join, we must lay equal focus on emerging opportunities both in the short term and the long term, and then build upon it to get jobs from the emerging trends in the near future. The emerging opportunities in front of us are many. When we talk about skill development and success in the aerospace and aviation industry, we are primarily talking about the three pillars that support this particular industry: the good pool of job seeking young people, employable candidates, the industry that will hire such candidates, and the last pillar being the government, the customers who will seek services from in this industry broadly, including the government as well. The central government in the last few years, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, has been a strong backer of the Indian aviation and aerospace industry, ranging from backing development of a certain aircraft programs to actually placing large orders, from tweaking various policies to enable and launch initiatives like Udan, to playing key roles in facilitating the production of many ambitious aircraft projects, whether it is the advanced medium combat aircraft, the LCA Navy, the regional transport aircraft, the twin engine deck based fighter in the fixed wing category, the very lethal light combat helicopter, the LCH, or even the Indian multi-role helicopter in the rotary wing category, or the Rustam 2 in the unmanned category. The aerospace scene is certainly burgeoning today with optimism. And today, the support of the government led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi is giving it a very, very important push. The support of the government does not just stop here. As I said, the 83 orders, the orders placed for procuring 83 Tejas helicopters has had a great ripple effect by supporting a lot of industries, MSMEs in my own constituency of Bangalore South. In addition to supporting many, many MSMEs registered all across the country who are important suppliers of aviation parts, we have also been able to generate interest for our products in foreign markets, supported by our very robust diplomacy. Just a couple of days ago, there were reports of the Nigerian Air Force showing interest in the light combat helicopter, right after HAL started flight training for Nigerian Army aviation pilots here in Bangalore. Also, India is reportedly looking forward to procure transport aircrafts. Many companies have offered to build these machines locally. With policies like Udan, we have also given rise to a strong demand for civil aviation in India. So speaking about availability of customers, given the fact that India is now a burgeoning economy where more and more people are capable of taking to air travel, the scope for making air travel more affordable as well as accessible will result in thousands and thousands of jobs in the civil aviation sector in India. So speaking of the kind of opportunities that the civil aviation sector will offer, one can very, very conservatively say that in the coming decade, India will see lakhs of jobs opening up in the civil aviation sector. It may be starting from hospitality to on-ground management to pilot training to even production of big aircrafts in the indigenous scenario. All of these will offer a very, very important role, play a catalyst role in increasing the number of jobs available in this sector in India. All the programs that I quoted above are an example of emerging opportunities, and we as the Skill Council must make ready candidates who will execute these orders as and when they get materialized. What are the skills needed to make a particular program successful? And two, what skills are needed to produce these machines at an industrial scale? These are the questions that as a Skill Council we must ask, try mapping with the emerging trends of the industry, and try encouraging our young people to pursue and take up these paths of study and upskilling. I also believe that there are more than 200 Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 suppliers identified in India for serving the 83 Tejas aircraft orders. I'm sure that many of these component manufacturers have already partnered with NSDC to provide them with good candidates if the need arises? Can we make a concerted effort to map the requirements of these industries, talk to the component manufacturers, find out the kind of skills that they anticipate will be needed in the coming years, whether it is computer design, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is 3D printing, whether it is basic CAD design. All of these will play a very vital role in the coming days. So if we can map these skills and start identifying skills of young people, give them opportunities to learn, it will create a lot of jobs in this very important sector. Also, while NSDC primarily looks at imparting skills for blue-collar jobs, we must lay enough emphasis on high-end technical jobs also in this industry. For either of the skills to be developed, we have a need today to go back to how we offer our curriculum to interested candidates. There needs to be cohesion between AICTE, Department of Technical Education, the Skill Council, as well as the industry, so that all of the stakeholders are on the same page. The skill development takes another 2-4 months. The skill development always takes 2 to 4 months after one's formal education, the proverbial finishing school. We can tailor make skill development to match certain employers, but we must find a generic way to include skill development curriculum in regular curriculum for vocation. This will play a very important role. In addition to this, the people from the industry, we are relying on you to making this skill development initiative a success. While industry owes no obligation to guarantee employment to upskilled candidates, communicating the needs and the emerging trends and the skills needed in a given company and its planned manpower expansion can serve as a very important source of information for the Skills Council to identify new skills. I can't stress this point enough. Being proprietary owners of a technology or of a manufacturing process or of a, say, MRO unit, who better can understand the emerging trends of an industry than the industry itself coming forward and telling us the needs of a coming change? For instance, maintenance, repair, and overhauling is one of the most lucrative opportunities where Skill Council can play a very important role. Around 85% of the $1.4 billion maintenance work of Indian Airlines is today being carried out overseas. Last year, our government slashed the GST for MRO units from 18% to 5%. The reason this was done was because the government is very keen to incentivize and encourage more indigenous opportunities of MRO units. This year, the government has plans of completely abolishing the royalty that airports charge on MRO units. We want to make India a global MRO hub. The current projections of fleet demand in civil aviation is a good indicator that MRO is going to become a multi-billion-dollar business opportunity in India. We will have to become self-reliant in this field, and we need Skill Council, sir, to play a very, very important role towards this direction. Fortunately, the Civil Aviation Ministry as well as the Ministry of Skills and Education is today being led by very dynamic ministers who I'm sure will bring extremely important reforms in both of these sectors. In that regard, whether it is an OEM or a subcontractor or a service provider like any airlines, the industry might say we anyway impart job training once we hire a candidate. But then what is the incentive to support Skill Council separately? To all my friends in the industry, this is my request to you. The incentive is if you help us in developing specific job training modules in association with the NSDC and the Skills Council and allow us to make it a part of our offerings to our young people. You don't have to later invest in training every time you hire a new candidate. This is a win-win situation for the council, the country, and most importantly, the industry as well. The industry and the Skill Council must develop deep sense of trust to help each other, mostly by sharing resources and facilities. And I'm sure the industry will take enough steps in this direction to support the council. The last part of my speech is about the pool of skilled candidates. This can be made possible and cultivated if we focus on the emerging trends. Bhatnagarji, when we speak about the new age skills, we are essentially talking about skilling candidates for sophisticated jobs. We will cater to industries that are either creating new things, or we help mature products that are already in the development, or we work on something that has arrived in the market only in recent times. This is what we mean by emerging trends. Plugging the skill gap by an external agency like Skill Council all by itself seems to be a very difficult job. This initiative has to come more from the community of students and even from the job-seeking candidates. Therefore, I want to focus my last message here to the young people of this country who are a part of this very important seminar. Friends, we all know that the aviation and aerospace sector in India is very happening. We are hearing about efforts to use sustainable aviation fuel. We are hearing about how hydrogen-based propulsion is gaining ground today. We are also being made aware that there is increasing interest in urban air mobility. I was very recently watching on YouTube the new fly cars, which may in the very short time be in the very near future be the standard of transportation in important cities in the world. Consequently, this urban air mobility will also generate interest in urban air traffic management. Because the more the number of flying cars, you will then have a sector which is urban air traffic management, just as essential as our road traffic management today. Therefore, these are the sectors of the future. And when I say future, believe me when I say that this is not going to be a distant future. This is going to be a future in maybe the next 10 years, maybe the next 15 years. This is the pace at which this sector is transforming. I already spoke about the opportunities in MRO. MRO for engines, maintenance, repair, overhauling for landing gear. This is an immense opportunity that is available. We are also witnessing increasing interest in swarm drone technology. HAL's combat air teaming system is another exciting project that HAL has in the pipeline. So we see a host of technological breakthroughs happening right in front of us. As young people of India, we cannot be playing catch up to technology each time. We must be at the frontier of driving these technological changes. And therefore, the young people, especially the candidates who are aspiring for jobs in this sector, whether it is blue collar or whether it is sophisticated high-end jobs, they must think for themselves and ask, what are the critical skill enablers that would be needed to achieve these advancements? Is it metal 3D printing that gives a designer more room to design his components? Or is it artificial intelligence that makes a system more autonomous? Is it the new age communication protocols that shall secure intra-platform communications? There are plenty of opportunities and options in the fray, and it is open for the interested candidates, the young talented pool of India, to pick his or her area of interest. Whenever I travel in an aircraft, it always fascinates me. It fascinates me just like how it fascinated me when I traveled by air for the first time. And I'm sure this is an experience that all of you also share. And if you look at the expanse, the technological advancement of an aircraft, you will realize that from electrical engineering to mechanical engineering to telecommunication to robotics to civil engineering when building an aircraft, all sectors of engineering and related fields play a very important part in the civil aviation sector. So when we speak of the aviation industry, we cannot take a very narrow and myopic view. A broad view will essentially make us understand how the entire industry will catalyze a lot of job creation. Therefore, I want to only say that this is a sector which is moving at a great pace. This is a sector which is giving immense opportunities to young people. And therefore, I must congratulate the Skill Council for very rightly understanding that this is a sector which must be given prime importance, and already painstakingly readying the curriculum for various job roles and truly enabling partners from the industry to impart the relevant skills to the interested candidates. Therefore, in order to summarize my thoughts, I would say that we need cooperation and communication from industry on the skills that they need. We need the Skill Council to hunt more avenues to directly reach interested candidates in their universities, colleges. And most importantly, we must also incentivize our young people to be more aware of the emerging skills in this sector. Like I said in the very beginning, the progress of a country, the pace at which a country rapidly grows in its technological strength, depends crucially on the advances it makes in the aviation and aerospace industry. Thankfully, this country is blessed with immensely talented people, scientists, managers, administrators, and leaders in this field who have laid a strong foundation for India to become one of the preeminent strength, preeminent force, a leader in the field of aviation and industry. And the Skill Council, rightly at this time, is playing a very, very important role by readying the required strength of human resource who will play a very vital role in this sector. In that regard, I congratulate Rachit Bhatnagarji, the CEO of the council, as well as all the important stakeholders who are participating here to brainstorm on the emerging needs, the trends, and of how all of us can put our heads and hearts together to make this sector the most important driving force to make India the $5 trillion economy that the Prime Minister is envisioning. In that regard, I thank all of you for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you. It's not very often that we get an opportunity to speak on very specialized sectors and themes like this. So, but Nagarji gave me an opportunity which pushed me to do some homework, do some research, do some more reading on this sector, read up interviews of CEO of the Airbus, to our emerging technologies in aerospace and in engineering. All of this is also has also helped me upskill my own awareness about the sector. So thank you, Bhatnagarji, and thank you for the entire team. Namaste, and wish all of you the very best.